Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
It's a party.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Game Over Ottawa. Finally, the Sens have won again, which means I get to hit the Sens button. It has been quite a while since I got to hit that. We got the beautiful Sens button here, and I am happy to be joined by Matt Bosty. How are you doing tonight, Bosty?
Better than the last 5 games, has it been? I would have to say the last couple of games I've been out of the country. So it has been me listening to the team 1200 at 1 a.m. in Europe time. And both times I'm like, all right, let's go. And then it's like 3-0. And I'm like, all right, I will not stay up till 4 a.m. to listen to this game on the worst latency, bad cell phone connection I can get. So this is good. This is a great experiencing watching it actually on TV and a win. Like, I didn't know this was something that the Sens could do.
I think the worst part about the 5-game win streak, or losing streak, if you can have a worst part of a losing streak besides just losing the games, is that it was split up by the Four Nations break too, because the last Sens win, I believe, was in like the first week of February. So that's like almost an entire calendar month at this point. Maybe it was the second week of February, but I think it was the first week. It was like,
I think so.
It was like February 3rd or something. So it's been almost an entire month of the calendar, despite February being a shorter month. But finally, the Sens win 5-3 over the San Jose Sharks. It was not the prettiest win ever, but I think in the end we can't complain too much. They got the result. However, before the third period, I was getting ready to come on here and crash out. I was going to be like, okay, we've been talking about wanting to be buyers at the trade deadline, but this would have been a 6-game losing streak if they lost this game. And then I was going to be like coming on here saying, well, no longer buyers, they got to be sellers now. But luckily, we get to hold on to hope for a little bit longer here. The Sens are still alive and well in the playoff race, despite slipping a little bit. The vibes, I think, are looking up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like the first 10 minutes of that game was really awful. But kind of going to what we were talking about what you were talking about with being a buyer versus seller, it was just showing just what new blood can do to a roster. Like Pinto coming back in and then just on the we had that one kind of almost okay Tkachuk rush and then nothing for 10 minutes and then Pinto on a shorthanded breakaway. Not even a breakaway. Well, it was kind of a breakaway. A shorthanded rush to get that goal, and it really was kind of a moment of us to well, at least for me to kind of be like, okay, you know what? It is really a night and day difference when you have those three players in the lineup versus not. And then I was thinking about the same thing. I'm like, no, but what if we could do something spicy? What if it is time to add something there? And I was thinking about some players that could kind of help out, and then the game got bad, and I forgot about that completely until now. But yeah, it was definitely a kind of a very terrifying moment for that first 10 minutes when San Jose this was like a must win game, which is stupid to think of, and with all the discussion going on a week out of the trade deadline, so it was a lucky move to kind of come out of there the way that we did.
Yeah, speaking on the start specifically, I believe this quote was from yesterday. I had screenshotted this just in case it ended up being something relevant. It was Brady Tkachuk speaking on his return to the lineup, as well as Norris and Pinto, specifically getting the three of them back versus San Jose. And the quote that Claire Hanna posted was, "There's just no excuses. There's a standard I want to play with, and I know everybody in this room wants to play to the best of their abilities." Now, specifically this part. Tomorrow, if we have everybody back, expect everybody to be ready to go from the start. Treat every game like it's Game 7 at this point of the year. So thank God they won the game, because, oh my God, they were not ready to go from the start. And, like, specifically for the three guys who were out of the lineup, I could give them a little bit of slack, because it's like, okay, you haven't played in a few weeks, at least for Norris and Pinto, and Tkachuk was probably off for about a week since that last Four Nations game. But the whole team just looked totally out of sync in that first 10 minutes. I think it was 9-1 shots for the Sharks at one point, which luckily the Sens were able to turn it around pretty quickly after that. I think like by the first couple minutes of the second period, they had caught up or passed the Sharks in terms of shots on goal. still. So it seemed like they just needed a little bit of time to get back in sync, but also considering the rest of the players who were not injured and out of the lineup did already have 2 games since the break. It was a little bit frustrating to see like the team as a whole just totally not ready to start the game.
Well, and like you can go to literally the first, like the face off. Like it
Hmm.
was a clean San Jose win and then a very passive kind of just collapse into our own zone, which gave, was it Toffoli? I can't remember who got the first shot. Maybe it was Wenberg. It was just a really great opportunity 8 seconds into the game that Allmark had to be ready for. Uh, Allmark was the one player who was ready. Like
Hmm.
if you want to, there's been a lot of discussion about Allmark for the last few games since he's kind of come back. And some of it's valid, but I also think when your team can't score more than 2 goals, you really can't be looking at your goaltender as the number one reason you're losing games. But this is one of those times where you can look at the reason why Ottawa didn't have to pull themselves out of a bigger hole in that first period was Ullmark. He was solid. The difference between him and Forsberg for me is the way that he plays pucks. He had a lot of shots and he was kicking them all into not dangerous positions. Like Forsberg's been great for the last couple of months. Thank you, Anton. But I'm still terrified when I watch him kind of try and corral a puck in front of the net and it rolls in 4 places and it kind of rolls off there. When you watch Allmark there and it was fully on display for those first 10 minutes, he was just making sure that the shots that came in were savable and that there weren't any high danger rebound shots. And if he wasn't on his game, that game would have been 2-0 before we
Hmm.
had that shorthanded goal. And this game would have been it would have been the Seller game. We would be here talking about what we can get back for Drake Batherson or something along that line. But luckily instead we get to talk about some beauties by Pinto and all the other crazy stuff that happened.
Hmm. Yeah, you're totally right that Linus Ullmark was locked in from the start. That shot that was right off the opening faceoff, that gave me like flashbacks to last season where we were getting scored on the first or second shot of the game every
Yep.
time because with last season's goaltending with Korpisalo and the form that Anton Forsberg was in last season,
Yep.
that probably goes in and it would have been an embarrassing moment. So thank God that Linus Ullmark was ready at the start of this game. The one Sens player who was actually ready to go from the drop of the puck because the Sharks just had the better of the play in the first 10 minutes. And, as the game was going on, it kind of seemed like the Sharks had used up sort of a lot of their energy at the beginning there, and the Sens were able to swing momentum back. But the Sharks also, credit to them, they didn't quit as the game went on. Like, and we'll get into this later, but they were able to keep it a close game, get 1 goal with the goalie pulled there. So even though it's a game where you really expect that the Sens should win, and it ended up being close in the end, I do feel like the Sharks are one of the better bad teams that
Hmm.
that we've seen for a long time in the league. Like it's not like Chicago where it's just Connor Bedard and then like a whole bunch of crap. Like they've got some skilled guys on this team. So full credit to the Sharks tonight, I think.
Well, like Celebrini,
Mm-hmm.
you can. The fact that he's on the Sharks is such a blessing for Senators fans because we only have to see him twice a year because that is a yeah, actually if you think about it, how lucky are we? We've got like McDavid, Eichel, Celebrini, Bedard, like everyone in who is like semi-generational is out in the West. Crosby's kind of not that same talent. Matthews is a fraud, as we all know. Like we're in a good spot. But no, watching Celebrini here, it's just kind of like it reminds me of the Stützle seasons of Ottawa, where it was just like
Yeah.
he has the puck and everyone takes notice, and then when he doesn't have the puck, it's a little bit different. But then you also have a few other players like Will Smith. I think had a very solid game on the Sharks, and they will just punish you the second there's an opportunity. Though I think it is horrifically embarrassing. We got 3 power play goals against by the Sharks team that was 26th with like a -30 something, like an absolutely horrible uh special teams ratio, and we got kind of clowned on them there. But that's exactly what you said. This is a team that if you don't take them seriously or if you let up for a moment, they are going to punish you. Luckily they have no goaltending and we can we can punish them back by taking our own opportunities.
I totally forgot that all 3 of the Sharks goals were on the power play until you said that. And it's funny too because we had the obviously the shorthanded goal by Shane
Hmm.
Pinto. Um was
And a power play goal by
Yeah,
David.
not
No, not Perron. It was Yeah,
Br-
no,
Brady Tkachuk, power
yeah,
play goal.
Kachuk, yeah, and then Stutzla's was a power play goal as well. I don't know if it had just expired at that point.
I think it expired. It's showing as even strength on the box score, but yeah,
Okay,
in a
okay.
game with 8 goals, only 2 of them were 5-on-5. Because you also have Amadio with the empty net goal at the end there. So special teams going crazy tonight. Even though the Sharks lose the game, they definitely won the special teams battle, which is pretty funny. But we might as well talk about that Sens penalty kill while we're at it, because I don't know what the hell they're doing in leaving the left winger so wide open down low. And we've seen this multiple times this year. I remember Kyle Palmieri
Mhm.
just sniping one on Anton Forsberg. I think actually he scored twice in that game doing the same thing. It's always on that left wing spot, kind of down at the bottom of the faceoff circle. They will just let that guy do whatever he wants with the puck.
It has
And I
been
don't
since the
get it.
start. It's been the start of the
Mhm.
season, and I'm pretty sure that this is a goaltender request. I think that
Oh
this
yeah.
might be Allmark asking to just leave that part clean and have the defenseman play in the slot to block passes. So he can hug the post really aggressively and just always come up and meet the shot. When he's out and you watch Forsberg do it, then it's really scary because Forsberg
Yeah.
does not have the same level of poise. But no, because there's no other team that does this. Like I have been trying to watch and trying to figure out why and what it is, and the only thing I can come up with is that they've come to the decision that their best way of defending on that is to just trust Linus Olmark to come out and block that shot every time. And to be fair, he does it more often than I think like he should. There are some really great saves he's made, but it is just bonkers to watch 4 Senators just be like, you have this giant circle to just play around with left wing, do whatever you want, and just go crazy with it.
Especially when it's such a skilled guy with the puck like Tyler Toffoli too.
Mm-hmm.
Setting up that first was it the first power play goal for the Sharks, I think?
I think
Or
so.
actually that one went off Sanderson and he got credit for the goal, right? I thought that it was Celebrini's goal at first, but yeah, Toffoli got
Mm.
credit for that one. So he was scoring from that spot, and there was a couple other times where he just had way too much time with the puck. I get what you're saying about if it could be the goalie's preference to try to just take the shooter, but my main problem with it is that a lot of the time the shooter ends up being able to walk out in front and cut into the middle of the crease, because the defensemen are so focused on trying to
Mhm.
cut off the passing lanes that they don't shift over to try to challenge the guy as he steps in front, and they're often able to get a shot off before the defenseman can get their stick or their
Oh,
foot in the way.
yeah, it's bad. Like even if this is Lena saying, "Oh, let me do it," like someone needs to say, "No, no, no, no. We're gonna play an actual penalty kill, and we're gonna try and do that." The only thing I can think of for as a benefit is that he gets to play square to the shooter, so that any rebounds are just gonna go back out there, and it is better for time killing. But it's just there's a reason why this isn't a strategy.
Hmm.
Like I have never watched a good team just completely play like person to person coverage on a penalty kill. Like you got to do zone coverage, and they are just not doing that. It's fun because you watch it and you're just like you don't really know what's gonna happen because like you don't see this happen anywhere else. But it is definitely not it is not something that I hope that we continue moving forward.
Hmm. At least the Sens penalty kill did get one good moment tonight with the Shane Pinto shorthanded goal. Before we get into that, though, just going to do a quick ad read for Hyperdrive Hockey. Shift into Hyperdrive and get ready to have some fun with your new source for all the biggest stories in hockey, bringing a unique style of broadcasting and commentary with a Quebecois flavor. Hyperdrive Hockey combines top-tier hockey analysis, big stories, pop culture, and a damn fun atmosphere that will drive debate, make you think, and more. Join Max, Daphne, and Kevin every Monday and Thursday for your fill on the hockey world. Watch on YouTube on the Game Over Network channel, or subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or Amazon. And they were taking a break for the Four Nations, should be back soon. Don't know the exact date yet, but subscribe to the Game Over Network channel on YouTube to keep up with Hyperdrive Hockey, which should be back soon. So since we were on the topic of the penalty kill and the shorthanded goal, I figured I could make the second segment tonight specifically talking about the 3 players who returned to the lineup, and the best of whom I think was Shane Pinto. who gave the team some life when they really did not have any in that first period, scoring against the run of play with that shorthanded goal, which I think is like his 4th or 5th shorthanded goal on the whole year, which is crazy. It reminds me of when we had Pajot scoring all those shorthanded goals. It's really nice to see that at least, even if the penalty kill is going to be questionable defensively, at least they're a threat to provide some offense. And there was that little stretch before the losing streak where Pinto and Norris were both scoring shorthanded for like 3 straight games. It felt like a bit of a fluke, but here we've gotten another one. They seem to be able to do it semi-consistently, which is just crazy.
Yeah, no, and it's so yeah, I think that we also have to give credit to the penalty kill after we harped on their terrible zone coverage, but the fact that they let the 2 forward penalty killers play really aggressive on the point and have these opportunities is exactly what the Sens need. And we have Norris, Pinto, Greg, who I think
Then Giroux usually
Amadio,
for face-offs, right?
yeah, Giroux in his weird role of face-off, run off the ice, or whatever he needs. But these are really good players at doing that quick pick and run, and it is lethal. And when we did not have Norris and Pinto, it was excruciating seeing any of the penalty kill because we could not ever pressure that. So they had full ability to pass back and forth and get them down. It was terrible. But watching him do that little flick that he does, and then was it Greg who kind of I love Ridley because like everything he does is kind of like that like bully meathead vibe. Like that pass that he did was just like if you watch his stick, like he just kind of like hacked it he was taking a slash at the puck and it just kind of like hopped up to Pinto and it got to him. And Pinto is so good with his hands, being able to corral that and then still get enough strides off to do his move. It was fantastic. And it really was kind of like that moment after we had been so badly outplayed for 10 minutes that we could exhale and be like, this is what this team is with all of our players. Like we are one of those teams now that have the ability to have a bad part of a game and still be able to just come out and win, which you do not have when you're missing Norris, Pinto, and Brady. And it just changed the entire game, changed the vibe. Like you said earlier, we were outshot 9-1, and then by like the first 2 minutes of the second period, we were up a shot or 2 or something like that. And it comes down to Shane being able to make the play when he did.
And Shane Pinto, despite not technically being a top 6 forward on this team, I think is low-key one of the most important parts of this team's offense because he's the main depth scorer on the team. It's like when he's out, there is no one scoring in the bottom 6. And if a top 6 guy is out, he's really the only guy who can slide up to the top 6 and actually provide some offense. Like sometimes they'll slide Ridley Gregg up into there and we love him, but he's not exactly the producer that Pinto has the ability to be. So getting him back is just absolutely huge, I think.
Yeah, and it shone through the entire game. Like that's a game where if we did not have the depth and we had to rely on one line to try and do everything, you're not winning that game. You needed everyone to be able to come together and kind of push through.
Exactly. And then let's talk about Josh Norris next. I think it was a really quiet night for him in terms of easing back into the lineup. I think it was the line of Perron, Norris, and Batherson, I believe. Perron did end up getting a goal and Batherson an assist on there, so at least they did provide a little bit of offense, but I felt like I didn't notice that line much overall throughout the night, and specifically Norris as well. I think obviously great to have him back on the penalty kill too, as you mentioned, along with Shane Pinto, but I feel like it might take a little bit for Josh Norris to get back into the swing of things. We know that he frequently misses a lot of hockey, even though luckily this is one of his shorter injuries, even though it was still like 3 weeks. So hopefully he'll be able to get back into the swing of things too, because before the losing streak and his injury, he was playing some of his best hockey of the season, I find. And also, like, he got put on that line with Batherson, and I've been really disappointed with Batherson over the past, like, past 2 months, basically. And specifically, while all those guys were injured in the last few games, I don't think he stepped up the offense enough. He did have that goal against Tampa Bay, but after the break, just not good enough performances against Montreal and Winnipeg. But specifically with Josh Norris and Drake Batherson together, I feel like the two of them play some of their best hockey when they're together. So I don't know about David Perron being like the permanent left winger on that line, but I think I'm hopeful for Josh Norris and Drake Batherson getting that chemistry going again in the future.
They need each other. Like Norris, outside of his season with Brady on the top line when he potted 35, that was such a weird season. It's kind of hard to take it serious. He is not the same player without Drake Batherson, and Drake Batherson is not the same player without Josh Norris. I think they're both really good players, but I think I think they're good players. I think they're really good players when they're playing together, and that they've got this chemistry going. Yeah, but I agree with you. Norris was kind of almost invisible on a lot of plays, but he was feisty, and I did appreciate that he got really into it with some of the reffing that was going on, because he was getting really aggressively handled. Like that one face-off where he was getting hit really high up in the shoulder. It's like, come on, they know they're doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
And all that. So it was good to see him still get feisty and go for it, but it does feel like he's going to need 2 to 3 games before he has the confidence to get into shooting position and go. He's such a weird player. Like I just opened his DB, and he has only 1 point more in the same amount in one extra game played this year than he did last year. But I'm looking at his play, and it feels like it was so much better than it was last year. But it's putting up the same points. I guess it's just the role. But he's almost got 20 goals. Like I feel like that's the quietest almost 20 goal scoring for the Senators. Like he's
Yeah,
just potting them
how many
all
games
over.
played does he have now?
51. So almost a 0.5 clip. Like I'm not doing the
Mm-hmm.
math. I'm not Lewis, so I
If he didn't
can't.
get injured, there's probably a chance at 30, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, you know what? There are some gaps in his game, and I don't think he's necessarily a play driver without certain complementary pieces. But he's still putting up that. This is completely fine for a second line center who can jump up and play in other roles. And it's the kind of guy that we need to really kind of get into this next level and this next zone coming in. So that's it. I think what we saw tonight was the fact that him playing allowed Timmy to have a little bit more space against some other not top shutdown defenseman at the same time, or killing time, which comes in. But I'm really hoping that this isn't a serious injury that can kind of sneak and nag him for the rest of the season. I really hope that he still has a shot, because I do think that without that secondary scoring threat on the power play too, or him and Drake being able to get that chemistry going, is going to be a really tough climb to get into the playoffs without Norris potting
Mm-hmm.
another 10 goals. If he
Yeah.
10 would be tough, but like if he can get up to 27 goals or 26 goals for the season, I think that we're in a good spot.
If I remember correctly, he wasn't on the power play today, right? At least not the first unit, which played most of the ice time. That's an
Hmm.
interesting decision, I think, because you really want to have that shooting threat. And I guess we might as well bring it up now. That 5-on-3, we did get the Brady Tkachuk goal on that 5-on-3, but specifically that 5-on-3, I felt like had absolutely no shooting options before that goal, and the goal was kind of created off the rush where Brady got loose. The Sharks only have 3 defenders, so it's you can't pick up everyone on the rush. But when they were set up in the zone, that's where I'd like to see Josh Norris on the ice for that one-timer option, because they had everyone like on their backhand passing to each other and not being in a shooting position. So let's get Josh Norris back on the first power play unit, I think.
Please, just someone. I just want one person on the top power play unit whose whole thing is shoot. Like, just you are not going to be doing the spin move, because like I don't know what it is. They get into the thing. Like I get Timmy doing his crazy spins. Like that's his thing. It's like he's going to spin, he's going to move, he's going to get people moving, and I'm fine with that. But like that 5-on-3, we lost the face off, so we had to get the puck back. We got back in there, and then I think it was 45 seconds or something of them just
Mm-hmm.
circling
Yep.
with great passes, great everything, no shots. Like, what are you doing? Like, Sanderson started going down and then would pass back to the defenseman who would follow and they'd circle back. It was like they were doing like a cartoon super move where they're going to start like a whirlpool by melting the ice or
Oh
something
my god.
nutty like that. And the craziest part for me is out of all of that, they make the pass to Brady, who's in such a bad shooting position. Like he's like not quite on the blue line. He's in a spot where the goalie had almost full view of it. And he just rips it and it goes in. I'm like, there were so many better shots. There were so many better options, but they got the goal. So who am I? Who am I to criticize?
Yeah.
But it was like I was pulling out my hair because if we didn't score on that, like it was done. It was over. I was gonna angrily make 2 blue sky posts that were like Sens bad, trade everyone. But it was just flabbergasting. But it was the moment where like we got that goal and then we got the one right afterwards, and you're just like, oh, okay, never mind. What I was really mad about is kind of all done, and we're back at a good spot. But I don't know is it Baumgartner or is it Elfie who's in charge of the power
I
play?
think it's Alfie. At least that's what's been
Yeah.
repeated throughout the season. I don't remember like the last time I actually heard any official comment on it about like like him being asked about the power play or like any players being asked about him coaching the power play or anything like that. But that's what people say is that it's
Yeah.
Alfie doing it.
He just needs to have like a stretch of 5 games where he's like, all we're gonna do is like I'm thinking back to Pee Wee hockey, which is you will make 2 passes and shoot the puck. Like that is what we need to be doing on some power plays just to get that shot mindset back in. Like there's very little I miss about Mike Hoffman, but what I miss about Mike Hoffman was he would always shoot the puck. He
Mm-hmm.
would always go in and he'd shoot that. And we have like 3 players who can do that. Like you have Batherson, you have Tkachuk, you have Norris, who are all good shooters that still get caught in the crazy, weird, flippy, pucky, passy. Like I'll do a little bit of European football because I was there for a couple of weeks, but that ticky tacky pass back and forth, get everyone moving, and it's just like, no, let's just get some shots going. Come on.
And the thing is, their passes don't even really get everyone moving. Like
No.
it's a lot of stationary passing a lot of the time too. There was a bit of movement on this one, but like more so just because they had absolutely no shooting options. So they're trying to figure something out. But you had both Giroux and Batherson out there being right-handed shots. So when the one timer wasn't open on that left-handed side for whichever one of them was over there,
Hmm.
you go to the other side, and that's not a shooting angle either. So I feel like having Batherson, Stützle, and Giroux all on the first power play unit is just too much playmaking and not enough
Hmm.
shooting. Especially because Brady can wire it, and he did. He powered it past the goalie for his goal, but he's generally the guy that
Put
you
him in
want in
front.
front of the net.
Put him
You
in
need
front,
him in front of the
please.
net too.
Yeah.
So and then if you're gonna have Brady in front of the net, you need to have a good shooter to actually be like wiring it so that his screens in front of the goalie are useful for something, right? If we're not getting the puck on net, then he's just wasting his time and energy in front of the net, right?
I'll have a little bit of a hot take, but it is I think that Giroux should not be on either of the power play. I don't think
Not
he
even the
has
second unit.
at this point. No, I think that
Wow.
you need to game management him, because
Hmm.
he is so slow compared to what he was last year. I think that you need to keep him off of the power play units. He doesn't have the shot. His passes aren't what they were before, and just keep him off that so that he can be our even strength guy. Because I am struggling to think of like I'm sure there are plays, but like this season, at no point has Claude on the power play done something where I'm like, nice, that was great, thanks. And the fact that he's eating a power play 1 slot is so painful to watch. Like, just overload that stuff and make our second unit something a little bit zany or a little bit different there. But it's just he is such a I feel bad talking about him because I love him. I want him to be a Sen for years. I want him to retire a Sen. I want him to be the 3rd player to get handed the cup after we win the cup. But it's just one of those things where he is not who he was before. I don't think he has the passing. He doesn't have the shot. And I would like to just see us rotate some of these other players there. Like, was Godet when he was on his crazy heater? Was he on the power play 1 or was he on power play 2?
I think power play 2. I think he's
Yeah.
only been on power play 1 when there's been a lot of injuries.
Yeah. What a weird. Like, Godet is like this is one of the weirdest seasons for a hockey player I think I've gotten to watch, where he was on the insane heater that everyone knew was kind of like a little bit of a mirage, and then just like completely fallen back to earth to the point where it's just like, yeah, whatever. But people don't even like talk about it like he has the ability to go back on a heater. Like everyone's just like, yeah, just
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. That's we're not gonna talk about this. Like he sold his soul for like not even the devil, but just like some low grade demon to get like 10 fake goals or something like that.
Yeah, early season goals in like November when the team didn't even have a good record.
Yeah, exactly. He can only score when we're absolutely terrible.
I do agree about Giroux.
Yeah.
At least for the first power play unit, I think you still have to have him on the second unit
Yeah.
just because he's more skilled than any other option that you have for the second unit.
Who could be the second unit? Like you could do Perron, Greg.
See, here's the thing:
Yeah,
you
it
can't even
really
get
falls off.
you would get Perron, Greg, Pinto,
But
Chabot, and
but
then
Pinto could jump up to the first unit more consistently if
yeah.
Giroux
Well,
isn't there.
I'm thinking Norris
Yeah.
into the first unit for
Yeah.
Giroux, and then I don't see anyone else taking him off at the second unit. I think.
That's just more glaring indictment of our lack of scoring depth in our
Yeah.
organization. Yeah, that is fair. That is fair.
Yeah, which is probably the one thing that I think most fans are hoping to get a little bit of scoring depth at the deadline if the Sens do decide to be buyers. But yeah, last thing just to focus on in this segment specifically is Brady Tkachuk's game tonight. I think, like we mentioned, the goal obviously that was huge to tie up the game in the third period on the questionable 5-on-3. But even before that goal, I think he was back to his usual self. I was worried if he was going to be looking a little bit slow and a little bit, just getting back into the swing of things. And even kind of wondering if he really is fully healthy too, because he smashed into the post at the Four Nations, and I think he even said that his leg was already hurting before that. And it's kind of a bad look after already missing 2 games if he was going to miss another one, especially since there was an entire week since the first game back. Like they only played 2 games in a week before tonight. So I was kind of worried if he was going to be actually at 100% or not, but I think he was. I think he looked like his usual self, and he was instantly being a shit disturber in front of Vitek Vanacek tonight. So even before the goal, I think he was impacting the game that he usually does, in the way that he usually does. Finished with 6 shots on net, and if I remember correctly, he already had 5 shots on net pretty early in the game. So it was, I think he got a lot of those shots when the Sens were kind of clawing back from that 9-1 shot deficit at the beginning of the game. So I think he was a big impact in terms of turning the game around a little bit. Obviously, Pinto's shorthanded goal really got the Sens into the game, and then from there, Brady was helping turn things the Sens' way as well, even before he scored.
Well, you could look at some of the clips that came out from the Four Nations and just how vocal he is. It's hard not to be fired up when a player on your team is going that wild at all times and then backing it up on the ice and being as feisty. And I think especially watching the last 2 losses, like I like our leadership team, but like Giroux, Chabot, like Pinto and Timmy, they're not Brady. They're not hooting and hollering. They're not coming out there. They're not turning and being like, we're going to go our next shift. We're going to go crazy. We're going to hit them. Like, I think about how many times this year have we watched Brady's line hem in an opposition? Like there was that point, was it in the second? Yeah. Near the end of the second period where we were in their zone for 3 minutes straight or something crazy like that. And that's where Brady shines. Is just like when he gets that little, when you show a little bit of weakness, when you show that there's a break in the armor and you can come in, he is going to just pry that open, and that's where he just excels. And I thought he was going to play a little bit more passive. I thought that he was going to be like, I gotta get my legs under me, I gotta go. But like it was the third play of the game, he was in front of the net getting pushed around, pushed back when Ullmark had to come like skate to the halfway through center ice. Like he was going 100%. I just hope he takes a little less penalties.
Agreed. I did have that quote at the beginning of the game from him about how every game needs to be played like a game 7 going forward. And specifically, I was making fun of how he said that everyone's going to be ready to go from the start of the game. But at least in terms of every game being like a Game 7, that is true going forward. And I think specifically, maybe not for the whole team's performance, but specifically for Brady's performance himself, I do think he played that way, especially once the whole team was settled in after those first 10 minutes. I think like Brady's a guy who basically plays like playoff hockey all year, pretty much. Like in his style, he plays the style of game that you expect to see when guys sort of elevate their game and get more physical at the playoffs. But Brady just does that year round. So yeah, like you said, I'm glad that it seemed that he just came out at 100%, because he easily could have been playing a little more cautious, and you couldn't really blame him, right? If he's still like worried about his injury. So I think it's a great return to the lineup for Brady Tkachuk, and he made a huge impact on and off the score sheet tonight.
100%, 100%. And I just love him.
Yeah,
I love him. He's just Sens hockey with Brady is just so much better than Sens hockey without.
100%. Now, just going to do a quick ad read for our Patreon. If you're looking for ways to help an upstart media company employing over 30 young journalists and analysts across Canada, and if you have a few spare bucks lying around, you can head to our Patreon page at patreon.com/thegameovernetwork. There you'll find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for helping us grow. There's extra access, exclusive looks behind the scenes, Discord benefits, merch discounts, opportunities to give us feedback, and you can join us for special shows live where you can interact with hosts as we launch more ways to improve your experience. We had a bit of a viewing party in the Discord for the Canada and USA Four Nations final that I think everyone enjoyed. So if you'd like to see more things like that, maybe in the playoffs, maybe watch parties for stuff like that, let us know what you'd like to see. And if you're not able to spare a few dollars, we have a free tier available as well, so you don't miss out. If you really want to help us, make sure to click like and subscribe on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app, and share our work on your social media of choice. That is patreon.com/thegameovernetwork. Now, for our third segment tonight, I figured we have to at least talk a little bit about how they had Andrew Hammond come back to Ottawa at the beginning of the game. I feel like I can't go like the whole show without talking about it, because there was a lot to talk about from this game tonight between the Sens and the Sharks, but it got all started with a Hamburglar reunion, which was nice to see. It's kind of funny bringing back a guy who only played like less than 100 games for the team, but what an amazing run that it was. It's like such a spectacular stretch of games he had there. I think it was 21-2 record, where it was just so spectacular that even though he wasn't on the team for so long, it's something that like everyone is going to remember. Every Sens fan is going to remember for the rest of their life, even if the team reaches greater heights in the future. It was really cool to see him back. And I think I missed it because I turned the game on a little bit late, but I believe someone threw a burger on the ice and he held it up, right?
Yeah, he did so I think there were 2 burgers, but the first one landed right at his feet as soon as he stood. So half of me thinks that it was a plant, like they had someone who had practiced the perfect, because it was right there, but he picked it up and then he did his little grab. Andrew Hammond is everyone who like plays sports but knows they're not the best at it. Like that is the dream, that like you get to come into a spot and then you get to be the difference maker. You get to change everything. And he was such a like unimposing, just kind of like regular dude coming in and just doing that. Like, okay, people, I've said this before and people get mad at me, but what we got to see as Sens fans of the Hamburglar run is rarer than any championship.
I think so.
And people are like, "Oh, but I wouldn't trade it." I'm like, if as long as the Sens win a cup in my lifetime, I don't think I would trade it for a cup at this point, because it was unreal. And it was like, I've been a Sens fan forever, 2007, 2017. I've been always around. I have never seen the city more plugged into Sens hockey when he was doing that. Like everyone was talking about it. Non-hockey fans were talking about it. The arena was crazy. I was at the San Jose game during the Hamburglar run where Mark Stone, was it Mark Stone again? No, or was that Pittsburgh? I can't remember what it was. but it was one of the games, like the crazy Mark Stone goal. Like we went down like 2-0 and ended up winning in overtime to
I
kind
think
of
it was
keep it
the
going.
Pittsburgh one.
Was
They went
Mark
down
Stone
three
again?
nothing, and then that had the Mark Stone OT goal. But Mark Stone had so many great
Mark
moments over
Stone,
that
yeah,
run too. Like,
it was. He doesn't get as much credit as Hamburglar because like, nah, it's fun of a story, but like he was unreal on that. Everyone was.
mm,
It was amazing, but just that whole thing, like it was. You had to say like the city was all plugged in, so it was really nice to see, especially with how kind of it ended here, which wasn't really bad, but like we gave him the contract. He had injuries. He thought that maybe his injuries weren't being looked at properly.
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
There was a whole bunch of weird kind of stuff going back and forth. Mike Condon kind of coming. Was he before? Yeah, Mike Condon was
Mike Condon
after
replaced him.
it right there, and then the same thing happened. So it was like this weird kind of mix of goaltending kind of sadness. But this is another one of those things, and you got to give credit to Ian because he knows that this is important to get these players back, and for Ann Lauer to know that we gotta embrace our legacy to get it there. And it's nice because it makes me feel like these players who had such amazing time in Ottawa, and for Hammond, like this is a Hall of Fame level. Like if you performance, if something happens, to be able to come here, and as he said in his second period intermission interview, that coming back on the ice after so long and hearing all the fans chant his name and getting all that was kind of like this full closure for him,
Yeah, I
and
bet.
that
Eh?
that really kind of it made me feel real good. It made me feel real good hearing him say that and being able to do that. And then he got to hold up the hamburger again. Like what a great story. Just what a good story.
Yeah, so many great moments during that run. I'll always remember Curtis Lazar eating the burger off of the ice. That's like other than any of the hockey moments, that one specifically is my favorite just because it's so funny. Because you don't know where that burger came from. That like smacked on the ice too. Like I think it was McDonald's, so I'm sure it was wrapped up. But
That's
like
what he said. He's like, it looked wrapped. It looked wrapped.
that was a crazy move to take a bite out of it. And I remember like screenshotting it and having that as like my profile picture on like websites and stuff back then for a while.
It's so good.
But
Only a rookie. That's the
yeah,
thing.
that's
Only like
true.
an 18 or 19-year-old rookie would take a bite out of a hamburger thrown on the ice. Like no one
Yeah.
else would have done that. That's someone who was just pure 100% vibes.
I think that was rookie seasons for Hoffman and Stone as well too. So that was the
Yes.
other part of it that was so cool was both of them were leading a lot of the offense. So you
Mhm.
had this rookie like 30-year-old rookie goaltender from the minors who's going on an insane run, and then you also have rookie scorers leading the way on offense, which was just amazing too. I think Stone got a Calder nomination that year. Did he
Yep.
lose it to was it Johnny Gaudreau? Can't remember.
I can't remember because it was the same season that Subban fractured his wrist, and then Subban was
That's
at the
right.
awards show,
Oh, what a
and it
joke.
was what a I should still be mad at that, but I'm still mad about all of that.
Yeah, me too.
Uh,
I think I was like 15 or 16 at the time. So bear that in mind, but I remember like crying when we got eliminated by the Habs in that series because we almost made the like 3-0 down comeback. I think it was a 1-0 loss in that game 6, and there was the quick whistle on the Peugeot goal. It should have
yeah.
been a tie game.
And,
So the
and
way that
here's
it
the
ended
thing.
kind of sucked, but it was such a fun ride to get there.
And this is I'm a goalie lover, so this is hard for me to say, but we should not have started Hammond in the playoffs.
Yeah,
That
like I
you've
think he
got
played.
to.
I think he
You've
played the
got to
first
give him.
two
Yeah.
games, and he probably only should have gotten the first one. Like they went back to him for the second one. I think that was a questionable decision.
You do dance with the person who brings you, but at the same time, you have Craig Anderson, who is one of the best playoff goaltenders of, I don't know if I can say of all time, but like Anderson in for the Sens in the playoffs was just unbelievable. And that Colorado year for them too, where he got them to 7 games when they were all a bunch of rookies. But we don't want to make this the Anderson hour. This is still appreciating Andrew Hammond
hmm
on that. I had another thing about Hammond. Can't remember what it was. Yeah, it wasn't. Probably not important.
I had to look up earlier today on HockeyDB to kind of remember how it ended with Andrew Hammond
Mm-hmm.
because And also, fucking 941 save percentage in those 24 games. Like, I know scoring was lower back then, but holy crap!
Not
Like
that
that's
much.
still ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. Like the Vezina winners were maybe 930, not even like maybe 925. So it's just insane how good he was.
It was his second season too, where he went 7-11-4. He still put up a 914.
That's the
Like,
thing. Yeah, that's
we
what I was
we
about to
just got
say.
out of a season where
hmm
both of our goalies were sub 900. Like it.
That's
Ugh.
that's the thing, is that his follow-up season actually wasn't even that bad, which is what I forgot. I seemed to remember him flaming out pretty quickly after, but 24 games again the next season and a 914, that's not bad at all. With a 7-11-4 record at that point, that's just like not getting goal support from your team. And also Craig Anderson's numbers were like almost exactly the same that season. He had a 916 and a slightly higher goals against average. So Andrew Hammond was still pretty good the next season. It was then 6 NHL games
Yeah.
in 2016-17 when Guy Boucher took over, 837. So all of a sudden it came crashing down. They brought in Mike Condon, and then he was able to go on a little bit of a run for the Sens there. So it's weird. It wasn't like an immediate crash back to earth. He was decent the next season, but then just a few rough games, and then that was it for him. So it's nice that they brought him back to be able to get a bit of closure for him, and it's a 10-year anniversary for the fans too, since we
Yeah.
got to have all that fun with him in the Sens net. So really nice moment, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really hope to see a lot of these alumni that we've brought back in still be involved in some sort of thing. Like, have them do some of the cool golf tournament stuff and keep them around, because it is important for a team. For like I like to think like we're not that new or old of a team, but we're pushing 30, but still
hmm
to embrace our legacy, and we don't have the championship banners or rings to really kind of wrap our identity around. It's all about kind of these lovable misfits that we picked up along the way, and we should be having them at games. We should be having them at events and just really enjoying them.
hmm That makes me wonder if they'll bring someone back like Kyle Turris at one point
Yeah.
too. Huge fan favorite, and he was the number one seed during that run, right? Because I think Spezza was already gone the previous summer, so that's another guy that I could see them bringing back too at some point. And then other guys like Stone, Carlson, they're still playing, but I'm sure when they're finished too,
Yeah.
they could be a part of that as well. Last thing on this topic, I think obviously 2007 and 2017 are like the main like best years for the Sens, like no debate, the top two. Would you say the Hamburglar run 2015 would be third, like top three seasons in Sens history, or do you think there's another season that you would put ahead of that? Because there was obviously some other years where they got farther in the playoffs. It was a first round exit, but the way that it was just so unlikely, like it was just so shocking, I think.
Fun wise, I would say it's either second or third.
Yeah, from
2007
a
was
fan
that.
perspective, I would say,
But
because otherwise you could just say like the longest playoff runs or the most points in the standings would be like obviously the best, but from
well, there
the
was
fan
that one
perspective.
year. It was the President's Trophy winning year that we had in, was it the year before or after the lockout, the like 05 one? That was the one where everyone was convinced we were winning the cup. Like, we were
Yeah.
just unbelievable, and it was stupid Marty Brodeur and the New Jersey Devils. That, like, I watched every single moment of that playoff series, and I don't remember a minute of it because it was so dull, and it was just one of those things where it's just
Oh
like
God.
we can't do it. That would be the one that I would say would fight it, just because like every single sports show was talking about, oh, it's the Ottawa Senators here. Like, it was just like,
hmm
this is the best team. They're gonna do it. It's gonna be easy, and we didn't. So that was fun, just being the favorites, because we're like 2017, we were the plucky underdogs. 2007, we were a really good team, but we weren't necessarily the one people thought were gonna make it out of the East. And then like the Hammond thing, like as much fun as we had, yeah, as much fun as we had with that, we all knew we had maybe a playoff win, maybe if we were lucky. So it never really got to the point where it's like this is going to be a cup win. But I would also say whenever we make the playoffs with this roster, I think that's going to end up being in a top 5 most
Oh
fun
yeah,
things. Like, yeah, even if this is the season and this season has been a roller coaster,
it
like
really has been.
like November to December, like bonkers. February, like you said, I think we had 2 wins or something. But if we go on a heater in March, like who friggin' knows? It's fun to be able to have all these games mean something. And I know the city and the CTC is going to go absolutely bonkers, crazy, wild the second we're in the playoffs, and that's gonna be one of the most fun games to be able to attend. So
Mhm.
I think I agree with you. Andrew Hammond, number 3. Then
Cool.
the host superstar playoff year, number 4.
Yeah, I think the only reason that I don't have that one technically top 3 is I was too young.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
I know. I'm old.
I think it was 2003, so I would have been like 4 when that happens. so I didn't watch it. I came and showed up right for the 2007 playoff run, which was good
It's
timing. Good timing on one hand, but also bad timing that it made me a Sens fan for life. In it for the long run, but at least we have some awesome moments like the Hamburglar run in this team's history, and hopefully many more awesome
Mhm.
runs to go on in the future. Hopefully they can make a nice march towards the playoffs
I
here.
think it's gonna happen. Like I look at this roster, and there needs to be a little bit that has to happen. But with what in the next 2 years, another 10, $12 million added to the cap, and our cap management is awful this year. But
Hmm.
like going down the line, having all of our stars at 8 million when they really should be at like 11 million, being able to add a couple points there. Like this year, it's not a cup, but I think it's playoffs. Next year, who knows? But it's the year after that.
Yeah, soon there will
That's
be
the
room
one that
to
I think
add.
it is. So like 2027, I think is going to be the Ottawa Senators Stanley Cup.
Hey, we might get back to the playoffs in the 10-year anniversary of the
That's
Hammond run. So 2027, the 10-year anniversary of the last playoff appearance. Maybe that'll be the
and
cup.
the 20-year anniversary of our first cup final too. So like it's
Hmm.
really is the
That's right.
sevens. We are unfortunately cursed that we will be completely mediocre and middling, going up and down until the 7 years, and then we're gonna have the best. 2017, we were still closer to the cup than 2007, though. That
Was
one goal.
97 the first playoff that
Was
they
it
got?
97, 98?
I can't remember if it was all sevens for those like
I
milestones
think they might have
or
been
like
98.
okay,
Make the
so not
playoffs.
quite, but pretty close.
Wow, Google is terrible now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
probably some AI slop at the top of your
Yeah.
search. Yeah,
Telling me to use glue in pizza dough. 1997. So
it
yeah,
was
it was 1997. So like
96, 97.
it
Something
is
about the number
fate.
7.
It is
Yeah,
fate. The Ottawa Senators will win the double Stanley Cup in 2027, which Bettman on his year out will say the Stanley Cup counts for 2.
yep.
And it will be the Ottawa Senators doing it, making him have a heart attack that a Canadian team won his famous double cup, and then we're
Not
gonna
just a
usher
Canadian
in.
team, but like a small market Canadian team
Yeah,
too. Not even McDavid and the Oilers or the biggest market in the Leafs or the Habs. I think Bettman would have a stroke if that happened.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, place your bets now for Sens to win the cup in 2027 because we've found the pattern. We're seeing the numbers. We've cracked the code to figure out the conspiracy of when it will finally happen.
According to the Discord event I made, it is Saturday, June 19th, 2027 will be the Senators winning the cup. So
There we go.
if that works, you all owe me. You
Mark your
all owe me a lot.
calendars.
Mark your Discord
calendars,
events
everyone.
that no one ever uses.
All right, I'm going to throw it into our last segment for today. But first, if you're enjoying this show so far, you probably want more of this, right? Make sure you hit the like button on this video, click subscribe on our channel, and make sure you check the notification bell too, so you can get an alert every time we go live. If you're listening to our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating or even write a positive review. If you really like us, make sure to follow us on your favorite social media platforms. You can find Game Over Network on Blue Sky at at thegameovernetwork.com. It's the URL as the Blue Sky handle. On TikTok and Twitter, it is at GameOverNHL. On Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn is at GameOverNetwork. And you can also find, if you just want to follow specifically the Game Over Ottawa team, we've got all of our social medias down in the description of every episode. And you can also find us at thegameovernetwork.com, where you can sign up for our upcoming newsletter. And you can also find Bosty on Blue Sky. I think it's at bosty.ca.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got the domain name there.
You gotta rep that .ca, baby. Show everyone where you're from.
Is
You
there
can
an
just
actual
type in.
website, or do you just get the domain?
So there isn't a website, but I have it set up to forward to my Blue Sky account.
Okay.
So you can just type bosty.ca and it'll bring you right there.
Perfect.
Which is always fun. There is I buy a lot of domains for a lot of like blogs will purchase like a .com, and they don't realize that like a bad actor could buy a .ca and like be fraudulent with it and all that jazz. So I also buy ones that I forward. So you can also, everyone knows, probably friend of the pod is Silver Seven Sens, which they have silver7sens.com, but if you do silver7sens.ca, it brings you to our good friend Louis Boulet's in-depth hockey analysis page, which
you go.
is unfortunately a .com, but I did bully him into also buying the .ca. So that's the fun there. But yeah, you can also you can find me on Blue Sky, or I'm trying to think of any old internet stuff that I always try and bring out. A Yahoo Games of Tetris chat room between 7 and 9 on Wednesday nights.
Holy shit.
No, I've already dated myself enough in this. I won't bring up Friendster, maybe early Neopets boards where we can talk about the Great Omelette and Ottawa Senators.
It's okay. I used to post on HF boards, so
let's go.
I have some ancient internet stuff as well.
That's a good one. I used to I don't want to blow it up, but I used to know a former person in the Sens organization that's very beloved who used to post on HF boards with with a slanderous name against the Ottawa Senators because they were not a Senators fan growing up.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and it's very funny to know just how beloved they are in Sens lore. And I'm like, if only they knew. If only they knew the name back then.
Oh my god, you gotta tell me off the air.
I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you. That's what you get. If you invite Bosty onto a piece of content, I will let go a little bit of a secret about someone else in the community.
Got some secrets on you. I like that. All right, for the last segment tonight, we're going to take a look at the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed that I was tempted to bring up earlier when we were talking about Brady Tkachuk was that Ryan in the chat was talking about the whole anthem booing situation, because obviously Brady Tkachuk is a proud American and just represented the USA at the Four Nations face-off. Ryan is saying that he thinks if the Sens fans keep booing the anthem, that it's going to make Brady want to leave, and that it's disrespectful. I think that I would, or at least I would hope that Brady knows why the anthem is being booed, and that it is not like specifically a slight on his country as a whole, but at, the current regime and the statements that the current regime continues to make about our country and our country's sovereignty. I just think that if Sens fans booing the anthem becomes the reason that Brady wants to leave, then at that point it's just like, okay, just go then.
Yeah.
Like, we love Brady, he's the leader of this team, but if that's the reason, like, I don't really think that would be the main reason. If anything, there would be like other reasons for him wanting to leave, and maybe that's like the straw that breaks the camel's back. Like, if the team misses the playoffs another year outside of the playoffs, I could see him like requesting a trade, but I don't really think it would be because of the anthem.
The other thing to remember is like he is not like, yeah, he's in Ottawa and all that stuff, but like he's not going to like a pottery class and just hanging out with a bunch of like Ottawa dwellers. Like his circle is hockey. Like he is hanging out with the other Americans. Like it is not the big deal for him there. And another thing to look at, the thing that really kind of I noticed 100% was when he was asked that question about the anthems being booed during the Four Nations. You looked at him and he bumped Matt Tkachuk, his brother, to answer the question
that's right.
instead. And that it shows to me that he has an understanding that there's a lot more to it, because he knew he couldn't answer that question. And being in a Canadian market, he couldn't say anything. And it also showed to me that he wasn't so like, oh, I'm so pissed off, I'm going to leave. Because if he was pissed off and thinking about leaving because the fans are disrespecting the flag, or whatever the heck he wants to say, he wouldn't have nudged Matt. He would have said, yeah, it pisses me off a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put up with that, or something like that anymore. Like he has shown less anger at this than he did at the time that we've chanted "Fire DJ."
Yeah,
Like
that's the
it.
thing. We've had Brady call out the fans for booing and for chanting "Fire DJ" previously. So you'd think that if he's that frustrated by it, that he would just come out and say something, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, at this point in time, is hockey is something that I love. I love deeply. I've loved for all my life, but it's not the world. And when you look at what's going on in the world, if someone is so much defending some of the stuff happening that they're going to leave, that someone is unhappy about the American regime, then it's just not someone that I even want to cheer for. And I understand
Mm-hmm.
that it's hard in hockey, and I wish there were a lot more progressive viewpoints in the industry that was going forward, but that's not really what it is. But if someone is going to be out there putting on mega hats or something like that and getting mad at Canadians wanting to have their own sovereign country, then yeah, get off my team. But that's not
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I don't think that's where Brady's at. I don't think that's where Josh is at. I don't think that's where Sanderson's at. I think they all also have had deep connection to Canada. Like
They
Brady's
all
mom's
have
Canadian.
Canadian relatives, yeah,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Sanderson's dad too, I think, right? So,
Exactly. Like they understand what's going on, and I think it got played up really hard during the Four Nations because it made a hell of a good storyline for everyone to follow, and it was the first best on best hockey tournament in a long time, so it was really easy for everyone to get up in arms and angry over that. He doesn't give a crap about what the fans truly think because we're not going to be in his life.
mm-hmm.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, we had Rusty in the chat saying as well. While I am not the biggest fan of booing, if Brady
Mhm.
does not understand why the booing is happening, that's his issue. He is playing in a Canadian market. I agree. That's the thing is he should be able to understand it. And again, if if he can't understand it, then that's not our fault. Like it's not like, oh, we need to stop booing just because Brady is offended by it. It's like if Brady is offended by it, then someone should explain to him the reasons behind it, and if he actually doesn't understand, which I think he does,
Oh
for the
yeah, yeah,
record. So
absolutely. 100%.
and then we also had Rusty saying, I don't think the Sens are going to make any major moves at the trade deadline. I think they're going to try and see what the group can do, which is a fair point considering that they're all healthy now for the most part, except for like Tyler Clevin. But then we also had Ryan going back the other way saying that would be a mistake. This group would not get through a playoff round. He needs to make a move. What do you think? Where do you land between those two opinions?
So that's always been I'm thinking back to the early Twitter battleground days of not wanting to make a move just to get in and lose. And I was firmly on that side. Was why are we trading for Bobby Ryan or something like that when we might get a playoff round? Not anymore. Not after 7 or 8 years. I don't
Yeah,
even care if we're swept. I just want us to have a playoff atmosphere for a couple of games.
we
That's
need
what
it. We need it
we
so bad.
the fans need it, the players need it, the city needs it. Canada needs it. Like we need to have something else that's going on. So yeah, if this was year 4 of us like barely making it in or something, yeah, I would say no. Let's not give up a single a penny of trade value. Let's see what we can do if we need to, but not at this point. I'm like, yeah, do some magic, Steve. Like flip some players. Is there a spot with Calgary? Like if you look at Calgary right now, they have an option to do some pretty cool like weaponizing of their cap space for where they're at. Can we do something like get Raquel off get like a weird 3-person trade where we're giving up? Like if let me like look at what we have. We have like 4 third rounds or something insane like that in the next 2
Yeah, we've
years.
got those mid-round picks that could be useful for like some depth pickups, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we have two Florida fourth rounds or third rounds and a Washington third rounder in the next 2 years, which means like just do some weird stuff with that. Just get rid of all of them and like maybe a second in 2027 or something, and just see what we can figure out and what we can do to get a player in here. I don't want us to like do something stupid and like trade 4 players out and like get half a season of Mikko Rantanen. Like that would be where I'm
Yeah,
cutting the
that would
line.
be
But
ridiculousness.
now at the same time, now that I've said that out loud, can you imagine Timmy and Rantanen? Like that's
Oh my
okay,
God.
but
Because the thing is, he already got 50% salary retained. Could it be done again if he gets
Yes.
traded again? That's insane. Oh
yeah,
my
he
God.
can you can have Mikko Rantanen for like 3.1 million or something absolutely
God.
insane. No, that like that's where I'm drawing the line. But like Raquel, well, I don't like the term on Raquel, but like some of these players that are available that you could get, if we could do something cool and flip some players around and get a little bit extra space going,
Mm-hmm.
and go from there. I just don't know how you do it, and I feel bad for Steve, who is in this really unenviable position of having who's our prospects? We can't trade Yak.
Just
You,
Yakimchuk.
you, you
Yakimchuk, and then who else? I don't know.
like like Jan Yannick, like no thank you. We really do not have the clout for doing that. So it has to be draft picks, but I'm so tired
Mm-hmm.
of the draft. I'm so tired of
Yeah.
caring about the draft.
It's like we need to get a better prospect pool through good drafting, yes, but also I don't think that means that we should hold on to every single draft pick that we have. Like keep the first
No.
round picks, yeah, especially since you might have to forfeit one, but those second round picks and third round picks, I would gladly move, especially if they can get some like middle six
Paterka.
forward offense, you know? Like did you say Paterka?
That one tweet by I forget the guy who he puts out some pretty light rumors.
Yeah, the name was put out there, and
Yeah.
then everyone was immediately like, "Oh my God, Paterka is available. We need him." Like
Like-
everyone from every fan base.
Like I mean it's perfect, but like I think of Paterka, I'm like, yeah, if I'm Steos, I call up Buffalo and I'm like, I'll give you this year's second, 3 thirds next year, and then a second in 2027.
Holy
Like,
shit! All of the picks.
and then it's like, and you can have Noah Gregor and like I'm trying to just look here. I'm like, Travis Hamonic? No, he would say no.
They can have Anton Forsberg.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
need a goalie.
Like just boom, 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 perfect, done, and just make the money work. Like that, I would absolutely be down for a team doing that. Like I think back to Tyler the Jeannot trade that Tampa did, like and how bad it was, but like it didn't really sink them. Like they're
If you
still
do
competitive
a trade
now.
like that for a better player than Tanner Jeannot, you know, then
Yeah, exactly.
then that's a decent framework for what the Sens have able to trade. You know, you mentioned Paterka. If the Sens lost this game, I was going to come on here say they need to be sellers of the deadline.
Yep.
And I was going to say trade Drake Batherson for Paterka.
I would still do it.
I would still do
Yep.
it, although if they're going to stay in the playoff race, it's probably not the time for like a major shakeup.
Yeah.
But if they fucked it up today and like continued to fall out of the playoff race, then I would say yeah, shake up trade, and that specifically is something that I think would be good.
So
but
good.
he's probably all the core guys are probably staying for now.
Yeah, and there is one thing, like how many times do we see Pierre just do that crazy shakeup trade and us get hyped only for it to be like the most disappointing everything of all time? So like no, but at the same time I do love big name hunting. It's just so fun.
That's the thing. It's hard to resist being like, oh, these names are available. How can we fit them in? But it's going to be hard for Steve Staios. Julian McKenzie posted earlier today that Jacob Bernard-Docker came off of the long-term injured reserve. So that gives the Sens 850,000 available in cap space, which is going to be tough. I feel like if they're acquiring anyone with salary, it's going to have to be Anton Forsberg going out and Levi Merlainen getting called back up to be the backup.
Which I'm here for it. Though I feel a little bit bad because Forsberg really has played well in his last.
Yeah, he's turned it around.
Yeah,
It's
he
just the
struggled in some.
contract.
Yeah, he struggled in spot. It's not even a bad contract. It's just how bad our cap is this year. Like, and is this also the year that we have I opened too many things. Is this also the year where we're getting a tiny bit of money back? Yeah, thank God Colin White's buyout had that weird thing where we're getting an extra 600,000 to
Oh,
the
is that
cap
this year?
because of it. Yeah, for this
It's still
one
going.
year. So like, if we didn't have this,
Holy shit.
we would be. Thank you, Colin White. You're so
That's
helpful.
so weird. Oh my God. Sens legend Colin White.
Oh, and that's another 3 years of 875,000 on the books after this. But whatever, our cap is up.
You know, we were talking about the Hamburglar run. If I remember correctly, they traded Robin Lehner after the Hamburglar run for a first-round pick from Buffalo, which was Colin White, I think, right?
Yep, 100%. To Tim Murray, who did that, and it didn't work.
It all comes back around in some way. It's funny how a trade that happened 10 years ago around the time of the Hammond run, we end up giving the player drafted with that draft pick a big contract. We buy him out, and then in this season specifically, where we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the Hammond run, then we get a cap benefit from it.
Let's go!
It was all part of the plan. It was genius.
Yeah, Andrew Hammond came up with it actually on his way out. He's like, if you do this now,
yeah,
and
he's like, all right, guys. This is the game plan. After I'm gone, this is what you need to do.
Oh, that's good. That's funny.
I think last thing for tonight is we were talking about the number 7s earlier, and Ty Smith correctly pointed out that Brady Tkachuk is number 7. So there's something about the number 7 for this team that if we're not at 2027 yet, but if we do make the playoffs this year, it will be number 7 leading the Sens back to the playoffs.
Let's go.
And hey, the other thing about the number 7, if I remember correctly, the Sens have not won a game 7 in their history. So if we do get to the playoffs, it's gonna go 7 games just to have the ultimate drama, right?
We need to beat the Leafs, and we need to win a game 7.
Yeah,
I am
those
convinced
are the two.
We cannot win a cup until those two things have happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess just quickly before we go, I got to take a look at the wild card standings, because they're actually looking decent after tonight. I was it was starting to look ugly, but thank God that Columbus won both games over Detroit in regulation.
Yes.
It could be looking a lot worse if they had split the 2 games, or if there was any 3-point games in there at all. So what you end up with is Columbus being 4 points ahead of us. We have 1 game in hand. And Detroit only 2 points ahead of us, and we have a game in hand. And we play them about 2 weeks from now, I think. So
yeah.
So it's not
less.
gonna.
I think it's a week. I think it's next. Is it
right?
The 8th?
Yeah. You know what? It's a little bit over a week. It's like the start of not next week, but the week after.
The 10th. A Monday.
Monday night. That's going to be a huge game. And the game before that as well, being against the Rangers, who are 2 points back of us. It's going to be some absolutely massive games for the standings coming up. And then the thing, like, Columbus got 4 points ahead of us, but we still have to play them 3 times.
Yeah.
And I think there's 2 games against Detroit this month. So
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So the Sens, even though they're not like ahead of everyone anymore, they still have a huge opportunity to actually turn this around, which is comforting, because if we had lost tonight, as I've said multiple times today, it would be looking a whole lot worse. If we had lost, we'd be behind also Boston and Montreal.
That's the big thing. Like, well, Montreal only being 1 point shocks me. And that, but if we fall behind Boston, then it's really, really tricky. Which, but like I am still confident. I'm still very confident, and the big thing too is, like, I'm seeing these other teams and they play, and it's just like, I know I'm saying this after we had a fluky goal by Timmy. We had David Perron with like a weird bat-in goal as well, and all that jazz for a game that we had to claw back in. But like, Detroit's wins on their last 10 have been like really just barely able to scrape by and get a thing. So it's like I could see them easily falling out of the picture as well. Like,
yeah,
they go
a
on
lot
one
of
bad
games.
Streak. Ooh.
A lot of games where they've been outshot by like 10.
Yeah.
And then just getting the right goaltending. They actually dominated Columbus on the shot clock tonight, but so that's maybe a little bit of karma for all those other games where where they ended up getting a bit of a PDO victory. But yeah, you got to think that Montreal and Detroit will cool off eventually. Montreal kind of did for a little bit, but now they're back on another hot streak. But I think Detroit has had the best record in the league since Christmas when they made the coaching change.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be in the fight till the end, but you got to think that they'll slow down a little bit at some point. They can't keep winning forever.
And Columbus being able to persevere through all of their injuries, it's shocking.
Mhm.
So like, great stories. Let's stop it. Let's get us back in, and then we can be happy.
Yeah.
And it's also one of those things too where I'm looking and I'm like, I don't hate our chances. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say this because we're playing Washington on Monday. But every Washington game this year, we have been in the hunt against them and
Yeah.
playing them. I think stylistically, we match up pretty well against them. So if we end up sneaking into the last wild card and face them in the first round, I like that a whole bunch more than Tampa, Florida, the Devils, Carolina. Toronto, I always think we can beat Toronto, but I grew up in those Toronto lost years, so I'm a little traumatized.
You're a little scarred, yeah.
Just a little bit. But like there are some good options for us if we have if we just sneak in.
Agreed. Yeah, that's what I was going to say to segue into the conclusion of this episode. Is that next episode against Washington, I believe on Monday,
At
the
6:30.
6:30.
Yeah,
That's weird.
What if anyone
what
knows
the hell is that?
why there is a hockey game starting at 6:30? Let me know, because that's deranged.
Yeah, absolutely weird. But the Sens have actually played very well against Washington, picked up 3 out of 4 points in the 2 games on home ice against Washington. So we'll have to see how they do on the road. We'll see if it's a little bit more difficult there. I believe the Capitals have actually lost their last 3 home games.
Yeah.
So they're looking to get back on track on home ice, whereas the Sens are looking to continue to get back into the playoff race. But we will be back for that game on Monday. I believe Charlie will be hosting that night. So everyone look forward to that. Hopefully another good game against the Washington Capitals. That'll do it for tonight. Thank you everyone so much for watching, listening, commenting. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Have a good night, everyone.
Go Sens, go, baby!